Welcome to season 3 of Malevolent Autopsy. I'm your host, Queen. I use she, her pronouns, and I am so excited to be here with you all. Now, let me warn you, this show contains major spoilers for everything in Malevolent as of the day this episode is published, so if you're not caught up, I'm not liable. Before we get started tonight, I'd like to ask my lovely co-host, what part of Arthur's body are you betting on getting injured this week?
Howdy, hello. I'm Vol Control, he, him pronouns. Since last week's betting pool was a draw, because he didn't get any injuries, I'm tempted to go for the elusive no injuries category yet again. But what the heck? I'll make a bet. You lose all the bets you don't make after all.
I like that.
I'm betting on Arthur's pinky toe getting injured next week. Possibly because he's going to have to run and he's going to trip on something. But first, let's review what happened this week in chapter 266.
Yes, please.
Arthur and John have departed from no man's land and entered into the blighted landscape. John describes how the very air seems filtered, almost like how it felt in his dream. Arthur wants to circle back to John telling him everything, but John teases it out just a little bit longer, promising that when they have a moment, he'll be the one to come to Arthur to tell all. The clouds part and the sky seems to be pointing the direction of their travel, but John says it's not a sign for them. They come upon a farm, but the only livestock they find is spooky severed cow heads and root vegetable baby hands. So that's good. That's normal. Dark world normal. It doesn't seem like business is booming, but at least Arthur's not hungry. But they find they're not alone. Let me try that again. But they find that they're not alone. A strange creature bearing the burden of a massive bag is rooting around in the webbing of blight that covers everything. And they have a little friend in their bag. These little fellows seem to be harvesting skulls and turning them into bone meal. They don't seem to have noticed Arthur and John yet. Should we make contact with the little guys? Or leave well enough alone?
Oh, Vol.
Little guys,
I love your summaries. It's so good.
Thank you. I try to make them funny, which is extra fun in the Dark World in season 6 because everything's so fucking grim. But this episode, I couldn't include all of my favorite moments in the summary because all my favorite moments, I guess, spoiler alert, this is my carrot. This is part of my carrot. All of the descriptions. This was a very descriptive episode, and I really liked that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There was so much of John describing things, and every description was so good, and it feels like we haven't gotten as many. Well, I guess since getting to the Dark World, we've had more John descriptions, but I missed getting those, lengthy, poetic descriptions.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've really missed John being a narrator, being a DM. You can really hear the, if I close my eyes and I pretend it's not a character voice, I could be DM'd by Harlan. I totally hear where his expertise comes in, where he's laying a scene for the characters and he's building a landscape. It's so fun. I really, really enjoyed those moments. I miss when they were more frequent. So I think this season being in a completely unfamiliar area is going to give us a lot more of that. I mean, that's my biggest hope anyway.
Yeah, and going back to sort of the parallels between season 6 and season 2, where we got a lot of descriptions of the weird shit in the Dreamlands, I think it's going to be much the same. But I remember in season 5, when right before they're about to leave on the quest to transport the Blackstone, we get a description of the hills and the land and the dawn and everything. And I remember we all freaked out because we were like, oh my god, it's a John description. We haven't had one in so long.
I wonder if people have come up with a name for that phenomenon of John beautifully, poetically describing things. It deserves a catchy name. Because I think it's very universally loved.
Yeah, Rose in the chat says just John description, which I think is the shorthand that I usually see.
Yeah.
When people are screaming during the live vlog when an episode drops, when there's John description. That's just,
Yes.
it's just everyone shouting John description.
I need to shout out these submissions in the chat. Misra said Jonologue, which I think is really fucking good. Milk
That's
said
very
the
good.
Doetry.
Doetry.
Ajax says Joneration. As
Very
in John
good.
and narration. I
Very
actually
good.
really like Jonologue. I think that's the one I'm going to start using. I'm going to try and see if we can make Jonologue happen.
Can we make that happen?
Can we chat? I need a collective agreement, pact. Autopsy fans will make Jonologue a normal, malevolent slang word.
I love it. I knew somebody was going to do that Mean Girls gif in the chat.
Okay, Vol, what was your carrot?
My carrot this episode has to be, it's multiple moments, but, you know, to tie it up in a bow, it's John's emotional and intellectual, like, vulnerability in this chapter. He starts the whole episode by talking about his dream, and then he says that he'll come to Arthur when they have a moment to talk. He's telling Arthur, like, I promise you, I want to tell you this thing, but I want to make sure that we have time and space to properly, like, let it breathe or, like, let it sink in. And even discussing how he experienced that blind rage, that feeling when you can't stop crying, I was like, oh my God. Just hearing, like, more and more sort of details and descriptions about what John's experience was like in the Dark World before, even if we don't know what he did yet, just knowing what kind of state he was in is really interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think John's emotional maturity has shown in this chapter. I think that it's interesting because where you say, like, you were happy to hear John say, you know, I want to tell you, but I want it to be kind of the right time. I heard Harlan going, guys, I promise you will hear what he did.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be now.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And it's so funny how it doesn't take me out at all because it still sounds very in character as John, but I can totally also kind of see Harlan puppeteering John in the back going, I know you guys really, really want this. I know how juicy it sounds. I just need you to focus on other things. I promise we'll get to it and it'll be really good. Yeah. And I actually really enjoy those moments in the podcast. It doesn't break my immersion. It doesn't, like, mess with it for me because I feel like we're having a conversation. Right. I feel like Harlan has heard me and how much I want to hear about that, and he's responding.
Yeah, totally. I feel like there was another reveal that was like this, where we kept getting teased about it, and it kept getting pushed forward. But I can't remember the last time that happened exactly, but I do remember Harlan kind of having a conversation with the listener after the witch episode, because John has this really emotional, one-sided dialogue with Arthur about his feelings and his identity and how much he cares about Arthur. And everybody in reaction to that was like, oh my God, I can't wait to hear John and Arthur talk about that once Arthur wakes up. Like, I can't wait for John to tell Arthur that when he can hear it. And Harlan was like, well, we just did that, and I think it would be boring. But then in the next episode, he has Arthur, like, reference, oh yeah, when we had that conversation. And so we're like, okay, they did talk. We didn't see it on screen, but they did talk. It's okay.
Canon confirmed they communicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that too. I like it when he slips in direct dialogue. I mean, I think Harlan uniquely as a creator trusts his audience to pick up on things that are not subtle, that are not overt. And he really allows you to, like, sit with a concept rather than holding your hand and showing you every step of it. And I really appreciate that about him, but I do feel like it makes the times where he does say something directly to you feel way more, like, affirming, I guess, because he knows what he's done and he's acknowledging it. And I think some of us really enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that one of the one of Harlan's skills is how much he trusts the audience to understand what he's putting down.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that you don't see a lot. Where are you at vis-a-vis Stick?
The way you phrased that.
I know, because I fucked up, but we're going to leave that there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Where am I vis-a-vis Stick?
How are we feeling on Stick?
What is Stick? Stick this week is Arthur has this like tone about him of almost like, I don't want to, surrender is not the right word, defeat is not the right word, but acceptance is also not quite the right word. It's somewhere in between all of those things. And he has this like resolve about him, but he just sounds so like heavy with the weight of their fate.
Yeah, full agree. I think John and Arthur, their tone throughout this chapter was back and forth, but where it settled for Arthur sounds so, I don't know, it makes me sad, but sad in a good way.
Yeah, and I think I prefer Arthur to be in that sort of like resolve mode as opposed to being fearful of fucking everything. And I guess this harkens back to that moment where Arthur says like, I can't, and John's like, you can, and Arthur's like, I can't let the dark world win or the dark world affect me like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Queen, what was your carrot this week? What you munching on?
I am munching on a bunch of like tiny baby carrots, but they're all for once labeled the same thing, which is Arthur telling John to shake it off.
Yeah.
I really liked the turnaround of Arthur being like, I don't know, it reminded me of goddamn John, just try to ignore the maggots on the cave wall. Like, fuck you, dude. The amount of times
Arthur's turn. Now it's Arthur's turn to be like, get it together, dude.
Yeah, I really, really liked that because Arthur never gets to say that to John.
Lock the fuck in, bro.
Can you lock the fuck in? Like, I loved hearing that turnaround, and I especially love the concept of like John having issues staying present and staying, which kind of happened in season 4, but for a completely different reason.
Yeah.
I liked the concept of Arthur having to ground John as much as John has to acclimate Arthur to this new world. And I really like the concept of Arthur not having to see anything and therefore being really good at focusing on the objective.
Right.
But John having to see everything and needing to be emotionally supported and like pulled back from, a repeated kind of relapse. I really enjoyed that. I know that we've seen very similar things in other seasons, but this is doing it in a completely different way that still feels very fresh to me.
Yeah.
They're supporting each other in a way that I haven't seen before, and it feels finally very reciprocal, that you really feel like, I mean, at least I do, I really feel like it's a very even back and forth, kind of, I'm watching a tennis match, so I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think is really successful about Harlan's writing, is that in every season you really do see that growth and shift in not only their like personal growth, but their growth as a team, as a partnership. And, I'm really excited to see the level of success they have at communicating and supporting each other now in their current dynamic. And I think it's very satisfying.
Yeah, I agree. I think season 6 has already given us so much satisfying payoff for so many different things, especially the different dynamics of their relationship. So
yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, and we've got a really good listener submission that also talks about that. But first, where are you vis-a-vis your stick? Where did you put it? Where did you leave it? Where did you pick it up?
My stick is, John, what the fuck did you do? What the fuck did you do, dude?
Yes.
The more we talk around it, the more nervous I get. I don't like it. I don't like that he's so serious about it. I don't like that he's got details about when and how he can share it. I don't even really like that he's saying, I want to make sure we're somewhere safe, that we won't get jumped. Like, dude, it's the dark world. You're the person who has said over and over again, this place is awful and nowhere is safe and blah, blah, blah. So where do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah.
It almost makes me suspicious to the point of thinking John is convinced it won't happen. Like, I'm starting to, it's starting to make me paranoid that John
that's a little
is
bit of like manipulation on John's part.
Well, yeah, because it makes me think of like when you're talking to somebody and you don't want to, like, I'm thinking of when I was a kid and I like got bad grades. I didn't want to tell my mom. I'd be like, oh, I'll show you my report card when I get home. And then it was, oh, I'll show you my report card after dinner. Oh, like you just kind of keep putting it off or finding ways to be like, no, I really, like, I swear, I really wish I could tell you, but I have to go to dinner.
Can't.
Like,
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And so it makes me think that John is maybe kind of betting on that being far enough down the line that it won't matter, or that Arthur will be so hardened or different that it will hit different at that
interesting.
time.
Yeah, that's a good thought, actually. I cannot stop thinking about AK Trash Panda's, what is it called? Like Apollo's Dodgeball or something? Where you like perfectly predict
the dodgeball of prophecy.
Yes. It's still pinned in the Discord. I cannot stop thinking about AK Trash Panda's bingo board space that is heartfelt conversation, inconvenient time, because it felt like John was directly referencing that in this episode.
Yes, I love that. I think too, I want to acknowledge how many. I want to take a short pause in the natural flow of this to point out that there are a lot of, like last episode, we pointed out a lot of different theories and some speculation on what we think John's big secret was going to be. And I really want to check in like in the middle of the season to see if where we're at with those, where we're at vis-a-vis secrets. But I want to say that there is a very certain set of popular ideas about what John is keeping from him, or more kind of in line with the point I'm trying to make, why Arthur was picked, why Arthur is the main character. And there is always talk at this point in any series of what the ending's going to be like, and especially what people are hoping doesn't happen, and like what would let them down, right? And I think that something I've seen a lot is that John and Arthur like inherently need each other and like are always partnered up, and the whole reason that Arthur is special is because John made it so, or because John sacrificed something, or because, you know, like maybe it's not Arthur, maybe it's John. Like I've seen some theories about that, and while I totally get where you would come at with that, I want to put my hat in the ring for saying I am one of the people who hopes that nothing makes Arthur special.
Yeah.
I am one of the people that really hopes that it's not what John did, it's not what his parents sacrificed. I'm really hoping that Arthur's just a normal milquetoast British dude who like ended up here, because I think it would be a really interesting way to say, I don't know, I always really like the stories that end with, I think there's always something really cool about stories that end with like, it could happen to you.
Right.
This could have been you.
And I think that is in sort of the Lovecraftian tradition, is that you have these unimaginable horrors, these terrible, wonderful things, and it just happens to a guy. And maybe it happens because you opened a book, but there was nothing special about you before that.
Yeah, like there was no reason that you had to open. Like there was nothing at any point in time that was going to make you open that book.
Right.
There wasn't a predetermined path.
You didn't swear your allegiance to an elder god when you were 8 years old. Like,
I would give anything to hear Harlan do like a baby British kid voice doing some fucked up ritual. That'd be hilarious.
I wanted to Shout out Autumn in the chat says that they're going to feel so fucking vindicated when we find out that Arthur is the only Arthur because of John. Or, like, that John killed all the other, I believe they've been calling them Althers. The alternate Arthurs? The Althers?
Oh my god.
Yes. And Luna Maria says that John's going to wait to tell Arthur until they're in his bone citadel, at his bone throne, where it's safe. That's his crib. And I thought that was really funny. Luna is our resident obsessed with the bone throne.
Luna Maria, I swear, is by the end of the season is going to have like a tiny miniature bone throne built so that she can just look at it.
Didn't
all the
Luna
time.
make a bone throne fan art t-shirt? Didn't that happen?
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yeah, I think so.
Right?
I mean, if it didn't actually happen, the art was made.
Yes.
Let's get into some poll talk.
All right. Shall we hear from one of our lovely listeners?
Yes, let's do.
Before you hit play, I just want to say, because I think Nukuome is in the chat, Nukuome sent in 2 messages, and this is the second message, which we're playing first. So don't worry, they are in the correct order. As far as relevancy with the topic that we are talking about right now. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nukuome. My pronouns are he, in case I need to say that again. And I don't know if anyone has talked about this at all, because I just can't keep up with the goings-on of the servers. I'm way too busy for that right now. But it definitely seems like Arthur is shutting down emotionally. He's very eerily calm and level-headed this entire chapter, and all of his dialogue and reactions just feel muted. While I originally thought that this was just because of, like, the PTSD and everything, I mean, he was just getting shot at and burned, but then John started talking about how the dark world affects emotions, and how it either brings all of the negative emotions to the max, to the forefront, or shuts them off entirely. And I think that even with the lighter, the dark world is still affecting them in some way. Slowly, but I think it is. And, well, yeah, we saw that the Dark World's full effect on Arthur was amplification, like John said. But who's to say that that can't change? We know that Arthur is prone to both depressive episodes and violent outbursts, so it's entirely possible that the effects change with Arthur. Or perhaps it's changing because of his PTSD. Lastly, it would be a very nice writing moment if John was to be the one to be filled with rage and so many emotions at once, while Arthur is unable to feel anything at all. I think that contrast is very yummy delicioso for my brain.
Thank you, Nukuome. Wow. Yeah, I think you killed chat with that message.
Fucking brutal. Yeah, on the one hand, yeah, you're right. But on the other hand, ouch. Ouch. Especially because I keep thinking about what John says when he's describing, like, the 2 extremes of reaction to the dark world. And he says, I don't know which is worse. Ugh.
Yeah.
God.
I think what really makes me think of this is when Arthur is in the mines and he doesn't want to save the cultists.
Yeah.
This is kind of where he was at, and I'm wondering if we're going to get to that point again, and if so, how that's going to be kept fresh. Not that I don't like it, but, like, I'm curious to know what else you would do with that, because we already saw Arthur go pretty numb and get pretty hardened and, you know, reject this idea of helping others, and then John has to come and, like, swoop to the rescue. So I don't think that's going to happen again. So I'm very interested in seeing what Arthur's progression is here, how he's going to continue.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, and I think that because their dynamic has changed so much since then, that there would be ways to approach it that would still feel very different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also very interesting that we have a chapter where John describes the intensity of emotion and then immediately the absence of emotion, and we get to see kind of examples of Arthur being not uncaring, but really determined and really focused to the point where he's like, John, you need to shut that shit off right now.
Yeah.
We have work to do.
Yeah, I feel like Nukuome used the word muted, and I think that is very apt.
Yeah. I mean, look, I feel like that's a pretty important part of going through the horrors. Sometimes people do have to shut that shit off to get through it.
Yeah. Like Nukuome mentioned, and also Apolloette in chat says, just the PTSD, lads. Too true.
Speaking of things that are true and real and happening.
Yes.
Before we get into the vote and the poll, I wanted to invite a friend up onto the stage with us to do a little interview.
A friend? A little special guest moment?
Fehn, thank you so much for jumping on the stage with us.
Of course.
Yeah, welcome, Fehn.
We had a no vote week, and in no vote weeks, I go into mourning and nobody sees me and I kind of die. So what I noticed was that something big actually happened this past no vote week, and Fehn was the one kind of leading the charge with this big thing. Do you want to explain a little bit about the special thing that you did for the no vote week in the Discord server?
Of course. So it wasn't really just me that did it. While I might have orchestrated the event, the idea for Dark World Workers Appreciation Week was a community effort. I think the inspiration for it popped up in one of the art or meme channels in the Invictus Discord. It might have even been the Pit. I don't know. They all kind of blur together. Slate was actually the one that started it, if I remember correctly. Something came up in chat about the Dark World having a union and maybe OSHA as well, and then it kind of just went off, as it does. And it became a thing that... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it kind of has, there's been murmurs of the, like, Dark World Union and OSHA for a little while now, I would say, almost since the beginning. I would say since we met the Ratcatcher, right? Like, once we meet people with jobs, we gotta talk about them unionizing.
Pretty much. I think it might have even popped up in chapter 261 when the Dark World got introduced to us. Yeah, it just became a server thing. And then for the event specifically, it sort of just popped into my head. I was thinking about how the server just sort of fades out, like Queen said, when non-vote weeks come around, and it feels like there's a void when there's normally so many people to interact and talk to and debate with.
We need enrichment.
Especially.
We
do need enrichment.
Yeah. And Fehn, you guys provided that in spades. Like, I don't know how to describe to you guys if you weren't there, but it was just like a constant stream of a combination of like shit posts and genuine writing and story crafting. And it wasn't just people like role playing in a channel. There was like voice messages and art and like both scripted and impromptu role playing that had like a narrative plot to it. It felt so intricate, and then I learned it wasn't planned.
No, it came together in about 5 days. There was hints of a plan, like we had a theme for each day, and then a little bit got changed, and then we settled in on those themes, and then it just went how the server took it. And I think that's really what made it so successful, is just the server could do whatever they wanted with it within the theme and not feel like they were restricted and could just interact and have fun together.
Yeah, I unfortunately was out of town the whole time this was happening. I want to say I left like the day or two before it started, and I got back when it was well over. So, and the server is already a lot, so back reading that much like activity was really difficult. But every little like snippet I saw, or you know, I would catch like a work poster every now and then, or you know, some like form to fill out, and I thought it was delightful.
It's HD made the website for it, and I think that was one of the best things that came out of it. I don't know how they did it. They got like no sleep, so we had to tell them to take a break. As I'm seeing Milk's GIF pop up that happened. So we wrapped it all up with a pizza party. That was planned from the start, that we were going to wrap it up with a pizza party, and then there was a wedding and a divorce and another wedding, and our OSHA had died earlier in the event and then ended up resurrecting as Jesus from a calzone, and it was...
Wow. What?
Yeah.
Incredible. Queen, you didn't tell me about the resurrection via calzone.
Yes, Osha Jesus calzone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a lot. Like, I don't even know how I would... There's not even really a way to briefly recap everything. I'll just say, like, for those who were not in the Discord at the time or were absent or whatever, this was, to be clear, this was a channel in the Invictus Patreon section of the... this was a channel in the Patreon section of the Invictus Discord called Dark World HQ, and it got made through a ticket, like the formal process of like putting in a ticket for a new channel to be made, and Harlan was gracious enough to grant permission to do that and kind of inspire some silly event goings on. And then from there, what it looked like to the public was just a bunch of people going off in that channel and making up headcanons and like having these funny interactions with each other, and people just very naturally dropped in and started like flash mob style, just kind of like jumping in and getting into the scene or talking about their own character. And there's a website, which is it okay if I plug the website?
Absolutely.
I will just preface beforehand, before we get into logging in and everything. This website was made very quickly. I think it was an all-nighter by HD. Mm-hmm. And I would love, Fenn, I would love for you to explain this a little bit more and like how you distributed the email and everything and the quiz and all that stuff. Just like a brief overview. I don't want to go too long with this stuff, but
yeah,
I do want to just say that like this being completely detached from anything that had to do with this wasn't something that Harlan or Joe told you to do. This wasn't something that had anything to do with the chapters, really. It was just something you guys decided to do to occupy yourselves in a no-vote week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I decided that this sounds fun, so then I reached out to a couple people in the server that I thought might be interested in it, like Ajax and Slate, because of course they created the union, and then we slowly started pulling more people into it, and I kind of came up with a guideline, but everyone else made so much content for it.
There is one thing that is proven time and time and time again about the Malevolent fandom. They are fucking committed to the bit. They are ride or die for the bit.
Nothing we won't do for a bit. And before we go on, I do want to say the URL out loud for anyone who's only listening. And maybe the website will still be up. Maybe there'll be new stuff on it. I don't know. But just in case, that's dwlhq.neocities.org. And the login is going to be remy.j@dwlhq.com, and the password is capital A &J123 ! I'm going to definitely put a link in the episode description for you to check it out, because there's like a logo and there's pictures and everything. Like there's a quiz you can take. There's an HR section that you should read. Like it's very, very elaborate. It's very good.
Yeah, it was amazing, just all of it. And I think the best part of it was just all of the feedback that we got. I made sure to premise it in multiple places that, this was non-canon, that Harlan is letting us do this, but it's completely non-canon. We're just playing in the sandbox that Harlan gave us with the Dark World. And just seeing everyone create and interact and just have a bright spot in their week was honestly the best thing that could have came from it.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see people putting things together in real time, and how everyone really came together to do something fun and cool that was just silly and had no underlying motive. It wasn't really like, I don't know, it was really heartwarming to see that. It gave me hope that even after Malevolent is over, which I know we don't talk about here,
no, not gonna happen.
People will still be able to come together and do stuff that's in line with the fandom and still keep going and doing these fun creative projects. So can I ask, Fenn, how did you have a server? Did you have a DM? Were you talking about this with other people in private?
Yeah, we started just a group chat. We were going to limit it to, just the 10 of us, and then you came in at the end to help us out. So then we made a server for it. But yeah, we just had a group chat that was going. And speaking of that group chat, since Ajax mentioned it and reminded me, we did also have the manager drop in on the first day and give all of us a heart attack.
Yeah.
There was a voice clip from the manager in character that Harlan recorded and put in, and it sounded amazing, of course, but also I love that he didn't, I for sure thought you guys had coordinated with him to get that dropped,
Right.
but no, that was a total surprise to everybody, which I thought was so cool. And who doesn't love the manager? So any extra voice work is a positive.
I was on my lunch just looking at my phone and interacting with the chat, and then at about 12:30 my time, I saw the manager typing, and I was like, did someone decide to do what they're not supposed to and, change their name to a character name? And then I listened to the voice clip and proceeded to... my knees almost gave out on me. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was totally in shock when I saw that, because that was one of the things that I did manage to catch, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. And I was like, for sure Harlan did this just as sort of almost like a thank you for making this fun event just for shits and giggles, for the love of the worlds that he's created.
I want to wrap up by, first of all, Vol, do you have any questions about, as somebody who was not there that day, and something you'd be curious?
I mean, like resurrection via calzone of Mr. Jesus H. Christ. I think that about answers all my questions, honestly. Or lets me know that if you were not there, it is unknowable, but I appreciate then you coming on and sharing some of it with us so that we can save it for posterity. And if people want to go hunting around on the server, I think they will still be able to find this channel, maybe. And there's the website.
Yes, absolutely. The other thing I wanted to ask specifically about this, what do you hope happens with this? Like, if this has a future, if this non-canon Vote Week activity continues, what are you hoping for?
Oh gosh, if it is able to happen again, of course I wouldn't want to interfere with anything that Harlan would want to do with the server, because it's his server, of course. But I would love to run one with people again, just because it helps keep everyone engaged, and it even brought people in and speaking with the Patreon side of the server that I've never seen interact before, and said that they were, scared of interacting with people. And just having something completely silly and off the walls is a good way to help people open up. It's a non-horrible team breaker or team building sort of icebreaker for the community.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think it was so heartwarming, and it was so cool to see people that I had never seen in the server, or just like, I don't go into the same areas that they're probably frequent in, is probably the more likely scenario. It was so cool to see like what felt like effectively strangers suddenly come in and have such a vibrant engagement with the whole rest of the community. And ever since then, I have been seeing those same people kind of dipping in and sneaking into Eel Pit, or sneaking into the poll chat and peeping in, because they feel more comfortable now. And so that's always, like, when I run community events, that's always what I hope, is that I'm getting like one new person to get more comfortable and come creeping into the other sections. I'm very honored to be friends with people who do this kind of stuff, because I think it's just the most wholesome and wonderful thing. And I know it does take effort. I know it was silly and fun, but like, it does take actual planning and thought and organization, and you have to keep up with everything. So like Fen, Slate, HD, Bird, Milk, Luna, like everybody who was involved. I know there are more names. You guys were so awesome, and like, seriously, the backbone of any community are people who will take the leap and do silly, fun, ridiculous things like this. So thank you so much for helping keep us healthy and alive.
I am glad that I could help bring the community together just a little bit more.
Yeah, always. Before you go, I want to ask you how you're voting this week.
Oh, well, I did my recording and then almost flipped myself while doing the recording because I thought of more things. But for the moment, I'm going with Team Leaf to leave it be. Okay, that was sort of my gut feeling, and I'm sticking with it instead of following the temptation of the pancakes.
The temptation of the pancakes. Speak on that, Fen. Speak on that.
Oh no. I don't know. I just started thinking about, maybe a new friend. Just because something has a mask on doesn't mean it can't talk.
It's tough. This week is tough.
It is tough.
What I should have specified is, what the hell does pancakes mean?
Oh, yes. So pancakes started back in, was it the Lilith? No. It was the DIY and do it yourself or do not do it yourself, or get the black stone. That was where the pancakes started. There was a, if you have pancakes, you got to flip them. So flip the vote with pancakes.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then I found a GIF that went with it. So pancakes for flipping the votes.
Yes. And you're usually so into that.
I am. I just unfortunately do not have the time or the energy because I am also in the middle of a move. Otherwise, I might go full pancake for the weekend.
Yeah. Well, and I was late getting into poll chat this week, or at least it felt that way, because I had just come back from a trip, and I saw that there were a number of people who were talking about flipping the vote, but the numbers just weren't moving. So it's been a very stubborn vote week, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Fen, is there anything else you want to say, plug, shout out, mention before we say goodbye and then talk about the vote a little bit more?
I think just thank you for everyone who joined in on the silliness. And if we do another one, we'll try and give, more advance notice. But no, such a thing would just be held on a non-vote week if you can make it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you again for coming on. We love and appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Fen.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Fen. All right. So I know we're running late, but I don't regret it.
That's okay. It was well worth it.
Yes.
Should we...
the vote.
Yeah, read the poll choices and where are we at right now?
Let's do that. So, while I'm doing this,
I have it pulled
do
up.
you want to grab the... Oh, you do? Okay.
I do.
Well, you know what? Then maybe you should read the
Do you
poll.
want me to do it? Okay. All right, so the poll this week, as written, is make contact or leave it be. Currently, make contact is losing at 44%. Leave it be is ahead at 56%. Those exact numbers are 167 votes for make contact versus 216 votes for leave it be. So like a 50-person gap, 50-vote gap. That's pretty tough.
Yeah, that is pretty tough, especially when you don't have access to 100% of those people.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is when you don't have any confirmation of like where those 50 people could possibly be.
Right.
And the other thing is
you don't have them air tagged. You can't.
Not yet.
Not yet. But I was kind of surprised because I felt like there have been, when I was reading through Slow Poll, there are a lot of people on the patron Discord who are voting leave it be. But when I was talking in active poll chat, I was kind of surprised that there were plenty of people who were saying they wanted to make contact and not a ton of people defending their position. But maybe that's because their position's winning.
Well, the funny thing is, legendarily, I lied on a poll once because I was bored.
Mm-hmm.
and I was frustrated that everyone was in agreement, and so I started voting for the opposite side, arguing for the opposite side while still voting for my side.
Yes.
And then I argued myself into actually being convinced that I was truly right. And so I changed my vote and I was right technically all along. So it's a whole thing. Yeah. But I was actually really sad because everyone agreed in Discord that I could see, like whenever I was in there, everyone was like, we should leave it be. You can even see when I first voted, I have a comment in the Patreon poll, like on the poll post that says like, don't know why we would choose to bother something that is minding its own business so far.
Yeah.
And I posted that like pretty much the minute I voted because I was so shocked that anyone would vote make contact. But then I was noticing that it was really, leave it be was really in the lead, and for a couple of days, like I want to say like a day and a half, there wasn't a lot of activity in the polls, like one or two messages here and there. And I was like, this will not stand. We just got off of a no vote week. And so I came in and I was like, what if we should make contact though?
Yeah.
And I started trying to think like a make contact voter.
You got on a tear. There was at least one late night tear that I recall that I was present for. Something about we need to get Arthur in that backpack.
Yeah, he could climb in that backpack and be all cozy, comfy.
Super safe. And I think my response was, Arthur gets a mount? Hell yeah. So
hell yeah.
That's when we reached... That's definitely, like, Grackle territory, but we were having fun. And we were, stirring some stuff up in Poll Chat.
Well, I felt like it just... I don't know. Like, okay, I can definitely see good reasons to make contact. Like, people were saying, it's just that... Because, okay, here's the problem. I fully understand a lot of the arguments for make contact, but I just don't agree with that philosophy of voting. And actually, Hydrus and I were having a great conversation about this just last night, about the two very different types of voters that we are, and how, Hydrus knows there's that meta element that everyone has of like, okay, Arthur's the main character. He's not gonna permanently go away. He's always there. He's not really gonna die or get hurt. So I want to find out everything about this world as humanly possible. And that means I'm just going to throw myself at everything to get as much information as I can, because I'm pretty much invincible. And Hydrus is also saying that, like, Hydrus likes the pain sounds and the angst and the agony. So all of that is just a bonus.
Willing to put Arthur in danger. Yeah.
Right. Meanwhile, I'm the kind of person who's like, I need to take that meta element out because I want to vote as though I am Arthur and I'm thinking like Arthur. And like, if I were in this man's shoes, I wouldn't know that I'm invincible. I would still be scared of dying. And so I wouldn't want to do anything to put myself in danger. And any amount of pain caused to Arthur would never be worth the knowledge that we could get from sacrificing him. So for me, it's very clear and dry.
Yeah, this is an interesting vote because, yes, we have had sort of risky votes like this before, where it's pretty high risk and with a potential reward. I won't say a high reward, but a potential reward of some kind. And we usually have more context about the dangers at stake. We usually have more context. And I feel like in this vote, we don't have that context, which leaves it a lot more open for interpretation, which makes this one of those votes that's very vibey. And I know you don't like vibes-based votes.
Fuck that. You know what? Fish even came in last night and was like, this is such a vibe vote. We don't have any information. Yeah. I disagree. I disagree heavily. It's not a vibes vote, damn it. You can make it anything a vibes vote.
Sure.
My point is, we absolutely have information to go off of. It's just that it doesn't support the idea that make contact would be a good choice.
Yeah.
Like, and I say all of this, and I also know that something that I actually do really, like, this is part of me that does fully agree with this concept. If I were the DM in this situation and my players kept being like, we ignore that guy, we're not going to talk about that guy.
That's one of my things about this
I'd
vote.
be like, oh, fuck you guys. Like, I'm going to throw him at you then.
Yeah.
Because you can't just ignore everything I put in front of you.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's one of my big reasons for voting make contact is I think that there are times when it is obvious that the thing that is in front of us is very dangerous. But then there are times when it's like, it could be, it could not be. It is not immediately hostile. And at that point, I feel like the DM might be putting a hook in front of me. And I want to go get hooked on that hook, you know?
I feel like I can't in good conscience vote make contact because it's such an unnecessary risk. It is such an, like, I can't even think of a good arc. There's not even anything this thing has been described as having that we want or need. Like,
Sure.
It would be different if they had, like, a map or a piece of meat. Like,
well, you
I don't know.
You
This
don't
guy
know.
has
You don't know
nothing
what's
we
in that
need.
bag. You don't know what's in that bag. John said that it looked like it could carry like hundreds of pounds worth of stuff.
Which
there
is
could
why
be all
I
sorts of
maintain
cool
Arthur
stuff.
could fit in there. Arthur could climb in that bag and ride around on that little guy's back.
Misra in the chat says, a friend is in that bag.
Never once has anything we've chosen to speak to in Malevolent been a friend.
Yeah, no, don't forget about Blinky.
I don't know if it was a choice to speak to it.
I think it was a choice to, like, not immediately be aggressive to it.
You want to shave that thing?
Someone, I think it was Scotty on the Discord, specifically said, too bad we can't shave that thing because we don't have our shaving kit.
Oh my.
Well, you are on the winning side of history thus far, because not only is Leave It Be winning by a margin, a slightly narrow margin, but also all of our submissions this week from listeners are pro Leave It Be.
Insert canned gasping here from studio audience. Like, I can't believe that people don't submit their takes to Autopsy. Of course, when it's the majority, that's all we get.
Yeah.
Guys, not going to be a hard ass, but if you want to hear both sides of the vote, there's only one person that can guarantee that, and it's you.
We want you to submit your opinions in under 90 seconds.
And like... Yes. And you don't even have to listen back to it. I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to hear my own voice. And I get it. I actually hate my own voice, but I listen to it all the time.
Crazy.
You get used to it.
Crazy.
But like, you don't have to listen back to it. Just submit it. We will trim out your ums and uhs and ahs.
Yeah,
and,
we will make you sound super well put together.
Let me rephrase that. Like
I can say we. You don't get to say we.
I don't get to say shit. Let me rephrase that. My editors will make you sound really good. I sometimes do things. It's not like I don't do anything, but yeah, I encourage you to submit. And again, if you want me to read something, you can send an email in.
Yes, you can send an email in, and we did get a special email submission.
We did.
Is Rose still in the chat?
Is Rose there? Rose.
I see them typing.
I hope you're still here.
Yep.
You're not going to want to miss this.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
Rose, will you be offended if I try to do your accent?
I'm going to just say, I'm going to say for Rose, you don't get to not do it. Rose can leave if Rose is offended because you've teased it and now you have to do it.
Yeah. I know that Rose is not from Texas, so this will be slightly butchered, but I did grow up in Texas. So, Roses of Envy sent us an email, and it says, "Hi, Autopsy, Roses of Envy, she, her, back after a brief hiatus. Hopefully I'll be able to send in voice memos again soon, but for tonight I've got a pretty simple message. We've got some farmers here in front of us reaping and sowing. I say don't have to make contact with every creature we meet, and we shouldn't bother creatures on the clock. Leave them be, and keep on walking."
I need the editor of whoever's making this section of the show to put in applause. That was so good, Paul. It was like Rose was here with us.
Thank you. I'm not good at a lot of voices, but apparently, yeah, southern accents. I got the cadence, I've got the rhythm.
But you have to speed it up by like 3 or 4 times. You have to talk like a fucking auctioneer.
Right.
I think if Rose had recorded that, it would have been like 0.5 seconds in total. Because it was like, 3 sentences?
Yeah. I tried to do it as fast as Rose does it, but no, I can't talk that fast.
No. Rose has a superpower, and I honestly would pay Rose to just like record a reading of Malevolent transcripts I could listen to the show at like 50 times speed in Roses of Envy voice.
Oh my god, that'd be so funny. But bit aside, I couldn't resist because I tried reading it in your voice before we recorded it, and I was like, oh, I can do this. I was like, Queen, can I read Rose's email?
He even had to specify not joking, because that's some shit he would say as a joke.
But bit aside, the content of her email,
Good shit. Like, we've got some farmers here reaping
Yeah.
and sowing, yeah.
I think that that's a good point that, on the one hand, I think it's a good point that this creature is clearly like doing a job or is doing a task, whether that is an occupation or just like instinct or whatever. Like maybe that's just what it does. It might not be good to interrupt it. On the other hand, I will say that so far, creatures with jobs we have had good-ish interactions with.
That's fair. That's fair. I like the perspective of a farmer. I think that's cool. I think that does. I mean, we were given pretty explicit description that this thing has no way to hear us and no way to speak, and I feel like if anything, that's telegraphing that we can't communicate with this thing. And I mean, but then again,
I heard you.
I was saying this last
yeah.
night. That it could just be ambulatory for the sake of this thing in its bag
Right.
that is grinding up the bones, and that could be the thing that speaks and hears.
Yeah.
So, which I would love. I think that would be great.
I think you also suggested telepathy might be a thing.
Yeah, if that thing is telepathic, it could just like read Arthur's thoughts
Yeah.
and communicate via thought
Yeah.
to him. So that's a possibility. You literally never know.
Yeah.
Shall we listen to another voice message?
Let's do.
Yeah, it's Autumn, she, her, back in the flesh this time. Anyways, 266, I don't want to get anywhere near this thing. I mean, first things first, whatever's in that bag can grind up bone, and that's scary as shit. This thing also seems fairly neutral to us at the moment, and I don't want to disturb it. Hell, if we pull out our lighter, it may be a death sentence, as the lighter appeared to get rid of the black webbing on Frederick. While that may have been good for him, this guy seems to be cultivating it on a farm, farmer, bone meal, and we don't want to aggro it by burning its crops. Okay, now this is where you're going to have to hear me out. No shirt, no shoes, no service. And that's my new Dark World slogan dropping. You've got to be wearing clothes for me to talk to you. And yes, this may be discrimination, but trust me, there's a logic behind this. Wearing clothes could be an indication of a creature's sentience, which is important when we need to calculate the risk of an interaction. The first man we saw was naked and turned out to be a rat, a beast that couldn't talk at all, making it, for the most part, unhelpful to us. The rat catcher, on the other hand, he was fully decked out, mask and all, showing that he had the presence of mind to find and take care of items that he was wearing. This demonstrates their sentience, which was then confirmed by the conversation with him, which resulted in useful information for us. And you may be saying, but Autumn, Frederick was closed and hostile. And yes, you're right, but he was still a person with a mind that cleared after we lit the lighter, and with whom we had an informative conversation with after the fact, continuing to back up this totally reasonable hypothesis. TLDR, I don't see the point of interacting with a creature which, by the metric I've just laid out, is likely not capable of speech, so could not give us any useful information at all, and at worst is actively hostile to us disturbing its work. I don't know if I managed to articulate my points properly, but hopefully you understood what I was going for. Have a good autopsy!
Autumn, you're the best, and your pattern recognition is on point because that is shockingly sound.
I fucking love this. I love this, and even though it doesn't support my stance for this vote, I think that there is something there about no shirt, no shoes, no service. I think that that's a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, I agree. Shall we carry on to our last voice message?
Yes, let's do.
Hello, this is Nukuome, and my pronouns are he, it. Now, on my first voice message about the poll, so while the urge to try and talk to a critter like a princess is very enticing, I think interacting will only hinder the Jarther. Yes, bait of more world building and possible new lore is very enticing, but we've already been warned twice now not to draw any attention to ourselves, and also I just really don't think trying to speak to this creature will yield any results. I think it'll just only put Arthur at risk, and we can't guarantee that the little workers in the Dark World are as indifferent as the rat catcher or the lantern creatures. Although, playing devil's advocate here, perhaps the fact that 2 out of the Dark World workers seemed indifferent to Arthur already, perhaps that's just how all of them are. So that could be a reason to try to speak to it, but personally, I just think it would be a waste of time.
Thank you so much for the submission, Nukuome.
I totally agree that there is always the allure of lore, but I also agree that I'm not sure that we're going to get anything useful out of this interaction. I kind of just want to, like, interact with it, and On that note, I just wanted to share a couple of popular or a couple of arguments that people made in Slow Poll about in favor of make contact that I thought were really interesting. One of them is basically stay curious. And that sort of leads into what we were talking about earlier about like ignoring the hooks or like continuing to walk past these creatures. But also voting make contact is in opposition of voting too conservatively, which we sort of had a habit of doing in season 5, to the point that even like Harlan mentioned it in the Q&A that he did with Ren.
Oh, yeah. Because he kind of scared us out of doing what we needed to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the flip side, we've definitely been not accused, like, seriously by Harlan or anything, but, like, we're always saying that we can't stop making friends with things. So I have to wonder if he thought we would take this bait really easy because friend-shaped.
Yeah. And I think that it always, like, goes... It kind of goes one way or the other every single time, where regardless of how many people are saying we need to make friends with everything that we encounter, sometimes that does actually win out and sometimes it doesn't. And I don't really know what the sort of like clues have more weight about which one of those is going to win in any particular week, or if it's like the phase of the moon or like what.
Well, I actually think it's the Patreon disparity. Yeah. I think we vote the same way. This hot take, I think the vast majority of the time, what is actually making the deciding factor of the vote isn't the Discord.
Yes.
I think it's the large majority of patrons. I think the Discord group can definitely change it once it's been cast. Yeah. Like, I think we have the ability to flip, but I think when it comes to, like, detecting voting patterns, and I'd love to talk with Kara about this when we can get her back here. I think when it comes to detecting voting patterns and talking about like which friends do we just immediately want to grab and hold on to, I think it's the patrons that are not involved with the Discord that really decide that for us, and then we go from there.
Yeah, I am still sticking with my vote, but I think that everybody who submitted made really good points about why we should vote to leave it be. And I do think it's probably the safer option. I'm just not sure it's what I want to do personally. But I have had this thought since listening to the end of this chapter that will not leave me alone. And that is that the last time we were at a farm and we were with that guy, you remember that guy?
Oh, that Oliver Twist dude.
Yeah, that guy. And he got the thing in his arm, and we had the opportunity to vote cut it out or leave it be, I believe. And I believe leave it be ended up being the sort of correct choice. And so that made me wonder
That's very
if...
astute.
Yeah, if leave it be was a reference to that and is the right choice in this scenario.
That would be fun. I would like that. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but I actually think that would be really cool. I also think that Hydrus, I'm always zeroing in on Hydrus because Hydrus and I are so different. Hydrus says, I want to know what his deal is. He's not hostile. John says he's paying us no mind. He isn't attacking outright. That feels like prime approachability. And before that, Hydrus said, I'm still so fascinated that the majority just aren't interested by the little guy. And I have to point out, just because I want to leave it be doesn't mean I'm not fucking fascinated. If I was in a video game, I'd be clicking on that guy. I think the issue is that I find nothing more interesting than I
value Arthur's
There's nothing
safety.
So interesting. Yeah, there's nothing so interesting that it warrants me not putting Arthur in danger, because that's not even really the issue. Mm-hmm. There's nothing so interesting that it's going to be able to suspend my immersion in the universe and my inability to be like, well, I know nothing's going to happen to me, so I'm going to vote this way kind of thing. I have a really hard time with that because I really enjoy getting emotionally invested in the story for the story that it is and like connecting with it on a personal level. Yeah. And I can't do that if I'm making decisions that go directly against what I see as important in the moment.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. And you know me, I sort of change my mind week to week about what my primary interest going forward with the vote is.
God.
It keeps it interesting, right?
Yeah. I think... Sure. I think that it's not necessarily that people don't care about author safety. I think it's just the ability to disconnect. And you and I are very different in that way. Like I think it's harder for you to have an emotional reaction to fiction than me. I cry over everything. I've made myself cry writing my own things.
Right.
So like,
right. And I mean,
I've
had that experience as well, but I think that because I write on a professional level and I've been writing so much for so long, I have a tendency to be in sort of like editor or analysis mode instead of deeply invested in a deep emotional way.
And I can't analyze anything unless I'm deeply emotionally invested in it.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I love it. I love the differences in people and the way they vote. It's part of why I made this, because I think it's a very cool thing to explore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think we're going to cut it off there because I know we've gone late. Thank you, of course, to Fehn for being our special guest tonight. We really appreciated you coming on and sharing your fun Discord shenanigans with us, because I do think it's part of Malevolent history.
It's totally part of the patron experience, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it will carry over into votes. Like, I fully believe that this is an experience, even if it never happens again, that will come up, you know, in passing during voting times as potentially influential. So I don't think you can separate shenanigans from the vote.
I love that. I love that. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, of course, to Harlan Guthrie, the sole creator of Malevolent. Without his labor of love for a story he wants to tell, we wouldn't be here. To join the live recording, submit your own message, get in touch with me, and more, visit linktree/Malevolent Autopsy. The official Invictus Discord server is open to the public and includes a channel just for Malevolent Autopsy fans. We also have our own private, patrons-only channel. Finally, thank you to Mizra, Nikki, Vol Control, and everyone who has helped create and maintain Malevolent Autopsy. These friends are also volunteers who donate time and energy to help put together this love letter to Malevolent.
And oh yes, we need to horrors and persisting.
Yes, we need to persist against those. So I will give that to you now as a gift.
Thank you.
Where are we at vis-a-vis the horrors? All right, the horrors persist,
but so do we.